Hello and welcome to week 3 of Improved Initiative's quest to make your quarantine more enjoyable for you and your children. We talked about using Minecraft for various age levels and different deliverables that you could get from that game. We also talked about epidemiology and World of Warcraft with the corrupted blood pandemic. This week we're going to shift gears a little and discuss the economy, specifically supply and demand, via the auction house in City of Heroes. City of Heroes is an MMORPG that was designed by Cryptic Studios and produced by NC Soft. The game came out in 2004, and that was the same year as World of Warcraft. Through the years, the studio involved in the design of the game went through several changes of their own, internal changes of their own, and eventually became Paragon Studios. Eventually, however, in 2012, NC Soft decided to close the game, and we all consider those very dark times. Anyway, for many years, fans and players of the game mourned its loss because truly no other MMO came even close to the customizability and the community that City of Heroes had. Then in 2009, a small player-based development team called Titan Network managed to get the code for the original game and basically reverse engineered the game itself, offering it for free to the public. This iteration of the game is called City of Heroes Homecoming, and it's free to play, and they only take donations to keep the servers going, and those donations close within 20 minutes because once they get the amount they need, they shut them down. They are not trying to make money off of this. They're not selling the product. They're just providing a place for the community to get back together and play the game. So we're going to talk about customization of your characters. Trust me, this has to do with the market in just a moment. In this game, you can be any kind of superhero or supervillain that you want to be within reason. So if you really love the fighting and firearms combination of, say, Winter Soldier, you can create a character that has a similar power set. You can create your own backstory, immerse yourself in a modern fictitious city called Paragon City, unless you're a villain, in which case you're off the coast over in the Rogue Isles. Each side of the game is connected via a place called Pocket D, which is a pocket dimensional nightclub where real-world internet radio stations sometimes broadcast from, like the Cape Radio. Check us out, thecaperadio.com. And also the auction house system. It's the auction house that we're going to focus on. So when you're customizing your characters, you have an origin for your powers. That origin will be magic, natural, science, mutation, or technology. We'll get to all of that in just a moment, because seriously, an auction house exists in just about every MMORPG. World of Warcraft certainly has it, Grand Theft Auto 5, The Elder Scrolls Online. I'm using City of Heroes because it's my favorite game. It's the one that I'm used to. And I have found that they all tend to have the same kind of functionality and the same kind of usefulness. So anytime I'm talking about using the City of Heroes auction house, you can really insert any MMORPG and do the same thing. But all of my examples are going to be from City of Heroes. So we pay for everything in City of Heroes with something called INF. In other games, it's gold, or each game has its own currency. In City of Heroes, it's INF. And INF, if you're a hero, stands for influence. Or if you're a villain, it's infamy. So based on your heroic status or your villainous status, you're getting certain amounts of inf coming in. So everything that you're gonna want costs inf. As you level your character, you need to use what's called enhancements to buff up or enhance your powers and your defenses. So there's several types of enhancements. You have training origin enhancements, or TOs, double origin enhancements, or DOs, single origin enhancements, or SOs, and invention origin enhancements, or IOs. There are a few others, But these are the most popular and the least complicated to deal with. Now I found out that there's also something called attuned, and that has something to do with how the invention origin is crafted and when you can slot it and all these other things. Don't worry about that right now. If you log into the game and you start saying, but hey, Chrissy, I don't understand, what's this attune thing? Don't worry about it. Don't ask me, actually ask everybody else who's playing the game. They'll tell you. They will give you more information than you ever wanted. It's fantastic. So the TOs are the very basic enhancements that you get as you're leveling your character from level 1 through 10. Then I believe at level 10 you're eligible for what they call DOs, double origin or dual origin, and that'll be something like, it'll be a magic technology. And you can use those to slot your character, but you have to know what your origin is, so when you make your character, pay attention to that, because it will influence how you spend your inf on your enhancements. SOs, of course, would be single origin, so it will only be magic, it will only be natural, it will only be technology, etc., etc. And then IOs are invention origins, and none of that matters. You just make the invention origin enhancement and you slot it, and then you just let it go. You'll have to change it out eventually, because eventually you'll out level it, but that takes a very long time, and that's where attunement comes in. Like I said, that's a whole other topic. Let's just focus on our market here. So generally speaking, if you slot a damage-based IO at level 10, you can use that damage-based IO until you're level 50. And by that point, you're gonna want to replace it anyway, because they have things called sets. And those sets work together to give you better percentages, better damage output, better defense, better offense, you know, whatever that set is, that's what you're gonna wanna replace it with. So IOs have several levels. There's white, which is common, yellow, which is uncommon, orange, which is rare, and purple, which is exotic. Now, I'm sure you can figure out which of these enhancements you want. All of them, actually. You want all of them, because depending on the type of build you come up with, which is completely math-based and probability and statistics, then you're gonna want a combination of all of these different types of invention origins to enhance your character. Maybe we'll do a video just on how to do math with City of Heroes. Probably won't be me hosting, but that's okay. It entirely depends on what you want to do in the game. For example, I have a Sentinel character who's a combination of a blaster, which is a distance, a ranged attack, damage kind of character, and a scrapper type character, which is a fighter, you know, like a scrappy kind of a person. She's designed for maximum damage output to the maximum number of enemies. So she has, I think, 3 powers that she can use that affect multiple enemies. And those are the ones that have my purple sets on them, because that gives me the best damage output, the best range, and the best accuracy to hit multiple targets. I think in total she has 4 purple sets for different things, 2 orange healing sets, a few yellows, and a couple of whites. If her build costs a lot of inf. So how do you get the inf to buy the stuff you need? Well, you gotta run missions. And in order to get the inf from running those missions, not only, I mean, you get some when you complete a mission, but you also get drops on these missions. And you can take those, and anytime you're not on a mission map, you type /AH, and it brings up the auction house. And now you get to do some market research. So let's delve into this a little bit here. When you open the auction house, you want to see what's available, how many people are actually bidding on it, and what the last 5 bids were for, successful bids were for the item. So in this example, there is a healing set in the game called Numena's Convalescence. It's I think a six enhancement set, and the sixth one is what they call a proc. So it has the opportunity to fire off this proc every time you get hit, and the proc is a plus recovery plus regeneration proc. It's pretty nifty. I really appreciate using it when I'm playing a character that is squishy. It helps keep me from face planting when I'm doing my ranged attack. I usually play tanks, so I don't really have to worry about it. But if I'm playing a squishy character, it's really nice because it keeps me standing rather than face planting, waiting for somebody to resurrect me. So it's a pretty, sought after IO. And so let's say that you received the recipe as a drop on a mission that you ran, and you don't need it, but you do need the inf. So now you have some decisions to make. We go to our auction house and we discover that as of today, in fact, 20 minutes ago or so, we discover that the recipe itself, there are 369 people bidding on 9 available recipes. The last 5 prices for the recipe were 6.5 million imp, 6.6 million imp, 8 million imp, 6.5 million imp, and 7 million. So if you want to sell the recipe, you're looking probably around 6 to 7 million imp for that one recipe. Or you could craft the recipe yourself and sell the enhancement. In order to craft the recipe, you need to make sure that you have all of the components. I think there's 5 of them, and they're fairly common. If you have the drop for this proc, then you probably have all of the stuff that you would need to craft it anyway. They're not prohibitively expensive. They're not cheap, but they're not like, millions of imp for the salvage. But you do need a spare 490,400 imp in order to craft it. So once you've crafted it, you can put it on the market just as the enhancement itself. Now, as of today, approximately 23 minutes ago, there were 837 people bidding on 591 enhancements for sale. The last 5 prices that were successful bids were 4 million, 4 million, 4 million, 3 million, and 5 million. Now, you might not make as much selling the enhancement as you would selling the recipe, or so it seems. Remember, there's a lot of people bidding on 9 recipes. Those 9 recipes are controlling the market for how much they're gonna make. You have people who are putting in bids, like say they don't wanna spend more than 5 million on that. Well, that's gonna be their max price offer. So they have to have somebody come in at, I think, anything 5 million or less. That 5 million will, the 5 million bid will go to that person. So you have to kind of figure out exactly how much it's worth to you to sell just the recipe as opposed to selling the enhancement itself. So you can make your money back, you can make extra money, and you can keep reinvesting into the auction house with the drops and the salvage and the inspirations and such that you collect throughout the game, throughout your leveling experiences. You just kind of have to know what your goal is in playing the market, and then kind of do your research and and even outside of the game, there's a full wiki on all of the available enhancements and salvages and things. Plus, what I was saying earlier about learning math through City of Heroes, there's actually a program you can download for free, and you don't even need to play the game to do it. You can just download it and you can build a character in this basically math program and figure out your percentages and your probability and your statistics on how good you can get your character to be, basically min-maxing. The program is called MIDS Hero Designer. I believe it's still called MIDS Hero Designer. And that is probably the best way to work on a bit more advanced math, like I said, with the statistics and probability, and you're talking about percentages and how much of a percentage you need in order to make your character survivable and things of that nature. I can also give the example that I used to have a character who was a super strength invulnerable tanker, and everyone would complain about me wanting to run what we had called Ricti raids, because the Ricti did a psychic blast that would immobilize invulnerable tankers because they don't have protection against psionic damage and or psychic damage. And I happen to have a really good set of purples on one of my defense that actually gave me 45% protection against being stunned and immobilized due to that particular type of damage, and it freaked everybody out. It was great. Anyway, moving on. Alexei Jeek has a very, very good and interesting video on how to play the actual stock market based on video game characters, so to speak. Imagine you're trying to play Street Fighter and you've got your character. That's kind of what he's doing, and he's telling you all the stats and what makes this particular character better than this particular character. It's a very fascinating video, a very interesting video. I'll link to it in the description for this, and make sure to check him out. Highly recommend it. So this video was mostly about City of Heroes, of course, and how to use the auction house to learn principles such as supply and demand and market strategy. I hope you found the information interesting, and I do hope that you'll check out City of Heroes Homecoming. And if you do, look me up on the Everlasting server. If you'd like more information on how games can help you develop your real-world skills, just email me at chris@plus5initiative.com or check out my website, plus5initiative.com. We'll see you next time.